Okay, we got the Warcraft news over the last few days. Major class changes and how they're impacting them individually. Blizzcon being canceled this year. PvP changes coming soon, as well as PvP resilience being implemented in Season of Discovery. Potential changes to Wild Offerings, some Phase 4 speculations. More. My name's Scott from the Comeback Kids. We got your World of Warcraft news today. Grab a cup of coffee, sit down. We got a lot to discuss. Don't forget, if you're looking for an easy way to find your runes or level up quickly in all versions of World of Warcraft, click that link in the description below to get the Rested XP guide. It's literally the best guide out there for World of Warcraft. I promise you won't be disappointed. Click the link, support the channel, gain rewards. Okay, so the developers recently announced that moving forward in Season of Discovery, we're going to be getting bulk-like class changes from now on, rather than just minor consistent ones like every week. And we just recently got our first big bulk on the 23rd of this week, coming to classes like the Paladin, the Druid, Priest, Rogue, and Shaman. To quickly go over these, Druid pretty much got a flat 10% damage increase due to their natural weapons talent converting to all damage now, which is pretty good. The Balanced Druid also got Gale Winds, their rune, actually getting buffed, with the mana cost of Hurricane now going down by 60%, which should help them in AoE situations, as well as Swiftmen no longer consuming healing over time effects, which is generally really good for Restoration Druids in PvP as well as PvE. Moving on to Paladins, their Seal of Righteousness can now be critically hit, which is fantastic for Shockadins. Sacred Shield's duration is extended to now 60 seconds, which was previously 30 seconds, and Crusader Strike now refreshes the judgment effect on the target, similar to how it is in Wrath of the Lich King. Finally, the biggest change for Paladin, though, is the fact that Seal of Martyrdom can now seal twist with other seals like Seal of Command. I know on paper this may sound interesting, but after talking to a lot of Paladin players over the last few days, it's either a massive hit for them or a massive miss, depending on the type of player you are. Some Paladins out there love Divine Storm dealing damage and seal twisting, and other Paladins out there would, prefer something different, a whole entirely new rotations. All over the forums and the Paladin Discord, you can see this sort of drama be hashed out, and to be honest, this is something I kind of wasn't expecting, considering Paladins have been getting a lot of love and attention this phase, so hopefully things get better moving forward. Surprisingly, Shadow Priest got their shadow damage increased by another 10%, which is going to be deadly for PvP and how much damage their Void Plague and Shadow Ward Pain dots are dealing right now. So we do know that Priest is struggling in PvE in the raiding environment, so I'm really hoping they do something rotationally to help them out, and just in terms of raw damage. Lastly, we do have Rogue getting some major buffs to Saber Slash, which, once again, on paper, this seems great, but from the rogues I've talked to, talking about Saber Slash, it's just not even coming close to comparing well with Mutilate, even still. I mean, Mutilate's the cheapest energy cost, the highest combo point generating, and the highest damage overall out there, so it's never going to come close in terms of raw DPS, so hopefully they make some changes to that additionally in the future heading into the last phase. Maybe something like increasing the energy cost to Mutilate by 10. I just don't even see this ever changing. With Shamans, they did make the change that mental dexterity is now pretty much for only enhancement Shaman, DPS and tanks, but they did supplement this for Elemental with their Burn Rune now increasing the damage done by Flame Shock by 100%, and then also increasing the duration as well as causing Flame Shock to hit 5 enemies, which was previously 3. Overall, though, the Burn Rune now is in a great spot for PvP as well as PvE, and it really fits the, fire shaman theme that Elemental's kind of getting put into right now, which is really fun to play. Overall, though, a nice buff for Elemental Shamans. I just still think they need help with their rotation, since in PvE, they're like second to dead last overall, so buffing maybe Rolling Thunder, one of their new runes, and definitely be a great place to start, considering it's like practically useless right now. But yeah, overall, a lot of big changes for some of these classes out there. The developers did say also that within the weeks to come, they're carefully planning some more adjustments specifically to Hunters, Mages, Shamans, and Warlocks. So if you're one of those classes out there, definitely look forward to some of these buffs and tuning very, very soon. So potentially maybe even this weekend, who knows? Now with Phase 3, we did get some additional features, and one of those included the Wild Offering system, which kind of works like an off-brand heroic dungeon token system in a way where you start a quest line and you're rewarded with this horn. You go to the dungeon that's in the end game in this phase. You fight one of these ghostly beasts, and then when you defeat that creature, you're rewarded with your Wild Offering, which you take to a vendor, spend on a variety of things like powerful trinkets, items, random Dark Moon cards, and stuff like that. Here's the thing, though. We gotta be honest here. I think everybody could agree this is just a pretty much worse version of the regular heroic dungeon token system where you would get one token off of each boss and you're rewarded for completing the entire dungeon. The problem is World of Warcraft players will just do anything possible to make sure they do the least amount of work to get the most amount of power. Like, that's just the way World of Warcraft players are. So what I mean by that is players are literally spamming princess runs in Moradon in groups of 10 and completing the dungeon in a couple of minutes to get their token, resetting, doing the thing all over again. And I gotta tell you, it's pretty terrible seeing something like that even happen. And it's kind of cringy to see that this is even a thing. Just completely bypassing the system on how it should be played. But the thing is it's not the player's fault for exploiting something. It's the developer's fault for even letting this even be a thing. On Twitter, we had a player saying the wild offerings in Phase 3 are encouraged to run the dungeon as fast as possible, which they are. And they asked, do you manage to do something for this? And Agron responded by saying that they love the wild offering system, but had a lot of the same issues that Sidereal Essences had in the Trial of the Grand Crusader and Wrath of the Lich King. You would just blitz to the final boss, kill it, get the offering, and move on. I suspect if we do something like this again, we will encourage you to run more of the dungeon other than just the final boss. It's definitely something we've been talking about. Now listen, ladies and gentlemen, I think we all love the idea of doing, smaller group-based content with your friends and a couple of guildies maybe, because it's a lot less stressful compared to, getting into a raid of 20 people. It's easier, it's more accessible, it's just straightforward. I love the idea of wild offering system. I love heroic dungeons, and I really, really hope they bring it back, but just simply tune it and make it normal to just not get abused by the player base. I feel like we don't need to reinvent the wheel on something that's already been successful in World of Warcraft. I feel like you should just implement that. Don't need to reinvent the wheel. Additionally, a little over a week ago, we got some hints about changes to PvP coming in Season of Discovery, and it looks like we're finally getting those changes. On Twitter, users were stating that I feel like it would be more balanced. You added resistances to all magic schools in the gear set bonuses or the PvP gear to make casters a little less threatening. Agrand actually agreed to this, stating how, I don't think we will go full-on resilience, but this is something we are talking about. He says the damage is too high in PvP and we intend to do something to mitigate it. Well, it seems like we're finally getting those changes, because just the other day it was confirmed on a Blizzard post that a damage reduction test is actually going to be happening right now in Season of Discovery. The Blizzard post stated that they're testing an adjustment to PvP combat in Season of Discovery, and they will implement a global damage reduction in PvP between players. They state that they know PvP will become significantly more fast-paced and bursty in Season of Discovery, and that they experimented with something like this in Phase 1, but it didn't really work out as well as they'd hope. Now that we're in Phase 3, they're going to give it another try, and they're hoping it's a good time to implement this now. They state that ultimately, it's always coming down to the fact that player damage outscales player health at a base level. They've been highly hesitant to introduce this as a permanent feature, and they prefer to give it a trial run this weekend, which is right now, to get an idea of how it feels before taking further steps. Additionally, they stated very clear that this aura will affect all areas of the game and not just Battlegrounds. Now, I'm not sure if a flat just reduction across the board is a good move for every class out there, but honestly, I will take anything I can get at this point. I mean, it's gotten to the point where pretty much everybody can just annihilate everybody out of nowhere because the damage numbers are just so high. I personally don't mind some sort of resilience being implemented in PvP, maybe on like a 5 to 10% level on the PvP tier sets, and maybe in just PvP combat, your stamina gets boosted up by like 50, 60, or 70 or something. And then, they can also do what they did in Retail WoW, which is where you could take certain damaging abilities out in the game and make them deal less damage. So let me know what you all think about PvP right now in Season of Discovery, because in my opinion, I think it's just a one-shot fest, and it's got to get fixed, or at least updated, heading into the final phase. Additionally, it seems that for the rest of the week, we as players are getting limited free character transfers from off of PvP realms onto PvE realms. The developer stated that when they launched Season of Discovery, one of the decisions was that they will enforce faction balancing on PvP realms, and that having this caveat may not bring you the experience you want from World of Warcraft, as PvP realms can be intensely challenging at times. They state that they're very happy with how the faction balance system has worked out, but the reality of balanced presence of both factions will not always have perfect equality due to some people not participating in PvP in the open world. So with that being said, they state that over the next few weeks, they will be periodically opening free character transfers off of PvP realms. Now, listen, one thing I'm going to say simply up front is that if you do not want to PvP, or if you don't want to ganked or get camped or get killed by the opposing faction, you shouldn't be on a PvP server. I don't really know what else to say other than that. This is never really a horde specific thing or an alliance specific thing. there's always going to be griefers. There are always going to be campers and people trying to kill low-level people or whatever in PvP combat. That's just the way of the world at this point. I guess it's cool that they're trying to appease to everybody here, give players the opportunity to get off these realms if they don't like it anymore, but let's be real here, guys. A PvP realm in Classic WoW is going to be full of griefers and gankers and people just killing you randomly. Literally just today, actually, earlier, before I made this video, I was on my level 25 rogue getting a bunch of world buffs so I can level up fast, and I got ganked inside of Thunderbluff. I literally got killed in a capital city, so it's just something that's going to happen in World of Warcraft. So if you don't want to PvP at all, I guess now's the time to get off your server, swap to a PvP realm. Okay, now with the last bit of Season of Discovery news, I've been getting asked non-stop when I think Phase 4 would be releasing, and I think I got a pretty decent idea of when it's going to come out. Now, based on the 2024 roadmap, which Blizzard has been taking incredibly serious ever since they released it, pretty much hitting all the timelines perfectly, up and coming, we have the Cataclysm Classic expansion being released for Classic World of Warcraft, and slightly after that, we are going to be getting the Season of Discovery level 60 phase. Just recently, they officially confirmed that Cataclysm Classic is going to be released on May 20th. Now, with Season of Discovery's phase releases for Phase 2 and 3 both being released on Thursday, we can strongly assume that's going to be the case next phase. Additionally, if it follows the same timeline as Phase 2 and 3, the phase is going to last roughly around 8 to 9-ish weeks long, having the release date fall either maybe near May 30th or June 6th. I'm hoping this is the case and they don't extend the phase longer than this, because I'm not sure too many players out there are absolutely loving this phase at all, and a lot of them are just waiting to get to the level 60 endgame, you know, access some of the other raids and some other new content out there. I know there's a lot of talk right now going on about how raids and 20-mans are like kind of ruining guilds, and a lot of people out there, it's kind of ruining mine, to be honest, and that is something we are going to be talking about in a future video, but it would be very interesting to see if it's possible maybe to get a 10-man raiding pack for the level 60 phase. Additionally, we did see some very sad news in the gaming industry that BlizzCon in 2024 was officially canceled. Personally, I was really hoping that this year BlizzCon was going to happen, and that my mind was pretty much filled with copium that there might be a Classic Plus announcement at the end of the year to come with that, you know, maybe launching in mid to, you know, early stage of 2025 being released. Long story short, they state that after consideration, they are not going to be having BlizzCon this year, and they're just excited to bring back BlizzCon in the future years to come. They're going to share more details about big launches coming later this year, including the War Within as well as Diablo 4's first expansion, and they will be at other industry trade shows such as Gamescom. I'm going to be honest, I think a lot of this had to do with the fact that BlizzCon last year wasn't sold out, because typically what happens is that BlizzCon tickets go on sale, they're sold out almost immediately. So for the first time ever, them not being sold out, it was probably a big surprise to them. Not only that, Blizzard kind of emptied the tank on everything potentially being announced over the last year at BlizzCon. So maybe they just simply didn't have enough big time announcements coming for this year to, you know, they wanted to take the financial risk in doing something like BlizzCon. But it's kind of weird to me though, considering how, you know, World of Warcraft subscriber count is legitimately like, you know, through the roof right now at this point, and the subscriber retention is near an all-time high at the end of an expansion heading into the War Within. So I guess this is just like a decision they had to make. We'll have to see. By the way, don't forget to leave your comments about Season of Discovery or World of Warcraft in general, so we can discuss it in these news videos. Like, starting off for the first comment, we have Valor stating how Phase 1 was the best and that the discovery aspect actually felt alive, with some things not being fully discovered for at least a week. And yeah, I gotta agree. I think Phase 1 was probably the GOAT phase of Season of Discovery. You know, it was like the perfect harmony of feeling like Classic and actually going to discover things out in the world and interacting with players and, you know, doing things we never done before. I think there's always gonna have that feeling, and the case in any game, that when you play it for the very first time, it's usually gonna be the best experience ever. Including any seasonal realm you pick up for the first time with World of Warcraft. But I feel like right now with Phase 3, we aren't really focusing on the discovery aspect, more than we're just having our, you know, shoving runes down our throat to increase our rotation like a bazillion buttons. But I think having that slower paced style of gameplay is probably what people enjoy the most. But yeah, I definitely gotta agree, Phase 1 was the best part of Season of Discovery so far, and I'm hoping for this last phase at level 60 be a close second, or at least make a comeback. Next up, we have Tarvis stating that 20-man raids killed it for me. 10-man was the sweet spot. And yeah, another thing I gotta agree on, and I'm gonna be talking about this soon in another news video, because every single person I've talked to about it agrees that 10-man raiding was just so much better than 20-man. Like, 20-man is so hard to get a consistent group of people every single week. And I mean, I'm a content creator and I can't get 20 people in my raid group easily. So it's always a hassle every single time. Got to pick up pugs. And I'm hoping there's some sort of way in the future where we can return to 10-man again, because it's so much easier than 20-man. I thought 20-man would be better, but I will be humble and admit I was wrong. Next up, we have Nebula stating how he's waiting for the season to reach max level and that he's curious with what they'll bring to the table for the end game of Season of Discovery. And yeah, I do have to agree. I think because Season of Discovery is just that, you know, it's a seasonal realm. I think it wouldn't be a bad thing to just empty the kitchen sink and empty the clip on testing things out and figuring out what players want and don't want in a vanilla sort of version of World of Warcraft. Like, let me know in the comment section below. Be honest about this. Would you like barbershops? Would you like arenas? Would you like guild banks? You know, brand new questing zones and questing hubs, dungeons, battlegrounds, like new things to add on to Classic, like Classic Plus. I think we just need to remember what Season of Discovery is here. It's a seasonal realm. So in my opinion, I'm just hoping they just empty the kitchen sink and just fire away at brand new features coming into SOD. Lastly, we have Rocco stating how hopping on for raid and sometimes gold farming just for consumables is exhausting. So much gold is needed with that inflation. It's just not fun. And yeah, there is another thing I do have to agree with there. I think the consumables and world buff list at this point is getting crazy. I know it's just the essence of Classic, you know, with world buffs and consumes and everything being like a really big part of the game. But at this point, the list is getting so large. I mean, you have the Songflower buff, the raid world buff to boon. Then you also have the elixirs and Stranglethorn that you need to get. You got to pick up and buy those. You have your own elixirs at the auction house. You have consumables, food buffs, enchants, all this sort of stuff. And then, you know, you step into a raid and you die one time. All of it's completely gone. And that just, I don't know. That doesn't really feel good to me. I know it's in the essence of Classic WoW to have world buffs and all that, but kind of like meh to me, in my opinion. Let me know what you guys think. But okay, I just want to thank you guys so much for watching this video, man. If you're sitting here at the end, it truly means a lot that you're supporting the channel and sticking with us on this journey for Season of Discovery, ending it here strong. I know Season of Discovery is in a little bit of a weird space right now. Just remember, it's a seasonal realm, meant to just be fun. Try not to stress too much. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to like and subscribe. Till the very end, my name is Sky from the Comeback Kids. I'll see you all. Peace.